Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to a new edition of Remixing Politics and Culture with me, your host, Pam. I'm really excited this evening to present the guest that we have today because he is running for the hotly contested 4th District of North Carolina, District 4 for the U.S. House of Representatives, a position that's been held by Congressman David Price for the past over 25 years. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up Stephen Valentine to the stage. Hey there, Stephen.
Yes. Good evening, Pam. How are you?
I am doing well. I'm doing well. So good to see you.
Good to see you as well. And thank you for having me on Remixing Politics and Culture. I'm glad to be with you this evening.
I am glad for you to be with me too, Stephen, because if you win, or we claiming that you're going to win, you will be my congressman. So I have a vested interest in learning more about you, and I have to say I was very impressed. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a few things about Stephen Valentine, our candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives, 4th District of North Carolina. That covers Durham County, Orange County, Granville County, Franklin counties, and portions of Chatham, Northern Wake. And for those of you who are not familiar with the area, Northern Wake is part of our capital, where our capital, the city of Raleigh, is located, and Southern Vance counties. Mr. Valentine is the director of the Veterans Law Clinic at North Carolina Central University. He served in active service in the Army and the U.S. Army Reserves. He is a cum laude graduate from Morehouse man, as an undergrad in political science. Afterwards, Mr. Valentine went on to earn his master's in social work from the University of Pennsylvania. He received an award for outstanding achievement and leadership. And Stephen, I tell you, right there, you had me, because this is National Social Work Month.
Yes, it is.
And I happen to represent about 500 social workers in the city of Durham. So social workers rock.
Yes, they do.
They do. You guys are incredible people. Very proud of you. Very proud to represent so many. After receiving the Bronze Star Medal for service during Operation Iraqi Freedom, Stephen earned his Juris Doctorate degree from North Carolina Central University School of Law. He is a former Presidential Management Fellow with the United States Department of State and the Political Military Bureau. He's also served on the House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on Africa, with assignment to the office of Congressman Donald Payne, who's a Democrat of New Jersey's 10th District. Prior to becoming the director of the Veterans Law Clinic, Valentine served as an assistant professor for both undergraduates and graduates in the School of Social Work at North Carolina Central. And so with all of these, I mean, there's more accolades that he has, but I'm just really so excited to have you here, because like I said, the field is very crowded.
Yes, it is.
It's about 8 of you guys running as Democrats. And one of the things that propelled me to start this show is that it's the midterms, and I get so sick of people not voting in all elections. And in this election in particular, we have a big name person that's running in your pack. But just because a person has name recognition does not mean that you should automatically vote for them. So that's an issue for me right off the bat. So I want to get started with some of the some key questions for you, so that you can explain to the audience who you are and what have you. So the first question I've got for you. Do you have anything for me first?
Yes. Before we get started, I just wanted to clarify with respect to the district lines.
Mm-hmm.
Many of your viewers know this district was the subject of litigation around gerrymandering. And so
Mm-hmm.
the districts are drawn a little differently. And so the district, as you described it, it's a little
Mm-hmm.
different now today. And
Oh,
so the
okay.
district
I thought
actually,
I had the latest. I don't
yes.
then.
So the district actually includes Granville, Coswell, here in Durham, Alamance County. And so I mean, the district looks a lot different than it did 30 years ago when this community put its faith and confidence in a gentleman from Duke University. And coming
Mm-hmm.
from North Carolina Central University, I'm hoping that the voting populace will put their faith and trust in a young man from North Carolina Central University.
All right, all right. Even by way of Morehouse and by way of University of Pennsylvania, I love the diversity of where you've received your education from, because that gives you, that to me shows that you have a broad and expansive lens. You know what I mean?
Well, yes, and so that was actually my intent from the very start with respect to my education, and so I think
Mm-hmm.
my education suits me for the position that I'm running for. It's prepared me to be in the forefront with respect to improving people's lives, quite frankly, in every
Mm-hmm.
capacity that I've served in, and I've been in
Mm-hmm.
public service all my life. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm ready to serve, and I'm ready to change people's lives.
All right, all right. Okay, so let's get started. And in a few minutes, guys, I'm going to drop the link so that you can participate with questions to Mr. Valentine as well. And while you're at it, if you're listening to me on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe. All right. What are the 3 key messages of your campaign, Stephen?
Well, I think a major message is, and you sort of highlighted when you talked about someone being in this race with name recognition.
Mm-hmm.
The fact of the matter is, Pam, is that I'm not a career politician, but
Right.
what I am is a fresh candidate with bold energy, and I have some big ideas for the future of North Carolinians. And so I think I'm being called to service to prioritize the needs of people over over partisan politics. And
Mm-hmm.
I believe, quite frankly, that politics is about improving people's lives, as I had mentioned before. And that's why I'm running on the theme of prioritizing people. Now, I'm looking to improve educational opportunities, like making preschool available for parents so that children can get off to a good start in life. Also,
Mm-hmm.
improving healthcare. Now, the Affordable Care Act did a great job of bringing more people into the medical insurance system that we have. But quite frankly, our healthcare system should be based on what I believe to be true about healthcare, which is it's a basic human right that should be afforded to all people.
That's
So
right.
I think the real future of healthcare for North Carolinians is universal healthcare for all.
Yes.
Also, I plan to take a good look, a deep dive even, into reforming our tax system so that the rich and corporations begin to pay their fair share. Quite frankly, the way that the tax system is structured, most of the burden of taxation is on the poor, the working poor, and the middle class. And that, quite frankly, needs to change. And I intend on doing something about it. Also want to preserve Social Security for future generations of North Carolinians.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of rhetoric around Social Security that would lead one to believe that this is a disastrous program. But can you imagine an America without Social Security? And how many people have been saved, quite frankly, from poverty
Mm-hmm.
in their golden years as a result of Social Security? And so I'm going to be fighting with everything within me to make sure that we can preserve Social Security for future generations.
All right. Well, I think that you've listed all of those things that I've asked for. So, moving right along, what areas of public policy are you personally passionate about?
Now, Pam, I'm sure this will come as no shock to you. I'm passionate about social welfare policy because it deals with improving the lives of children and families. But I'm
Yes.
also passionate about criminal justice reform because we need to do something about gun violence in our
Yes.
society. Matter of fact, we need to do something about gun violence right here in North Carolina. You know, North Carolina has been a place where we've experienced some mass shootings. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think, for example, we need to ban assault rifles in our
Yes.
society. And
Yes.
our Congress has legislated in this area before. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that we can do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it escapes me why a citizen, an American citizen, would need an assault rifle.
Me too, because they're not even legal to hunt with, right?
I mean, I just don't understand. Having served in the military for many years, I understand an assault rifle to be a weapon of war.
Hmm.
And the last thing we need on American streets is weapons of war.
Correct.
And so I think that would help reduce mass shootings in North Carolina and all over the country and reduce some of the violence. And so I'm also passionate about environmental issues like clean air and clean water here for North Carolinians. In fact, in Granville, one of the counties that now is part of the 4th Congressional District, they're having a major problem with their water.
Hmm.
And I tell you, I was just talking to someone who lives in Granville County not long ago, and it was very depressing to hear what the citizens in Granville are having to put up with this situation around clean water. And I plan to do something about it.
Okay. Okay. All right. So another question for you. Who do you look up to? Whose example would you like to follow and why? Is there anybody in Congress that comes to mind?
Well, it's a little bit more fundamental to me with regards to who I'd like to follow myself after. And quite frankly, I look up to my parents because they installed the values of hard work, the importance of faith, treating your neighbor the way you want to be treated, how to be resilient, how to bounce back, and then the importance of service to your fellow man. And so if I was going to follow any print, it probably would be the print that my parents provided for me.
Okay. Are you blessed to still have your parents with you
I
today?
am blessed to still have my parents. Yes. In fact, I was hoping that they would be on here tonight.
Well, they might be. They might be behind the scenes. I've dropped the link in the stream, everyone, so you can click onto it to actually type in something in the chat, or you can click onto it to appear on screen with us. Okay. What qualities, Stephen, do you possess that you believe would make you a successful office holder?
So I think I possess competence, integrity, selfless service. Like I had mentioned, I have been a public servant all my life, and dedication. I mean, these are sort of values that I live by as an Army officer, and quite frankly, have carried through in my work in the civilian sector. So I'm going to bring those same qualities to Congress, and I think they'll suit me well.
Okay. All right. Is there any, oh, okay, I kind of asked this question already, I think. Is there any particular representative, specifically past or present, whom you would like to model after?
So I'm a little biased when it comes to this question, Pam, as you can imagine. I had the distinct pleasure and opportunity to work for the late Donald Payne of New Jersey. His son, actually of the same name, occupies his seat today, but I actually worked for the late Congressman Donald Payne.
Okay.
And while Representative Payne was small in stature, he was a giant in the halls of Congress. And he carried himself with such dignity. I tell you, I mean, he was a well-respected representative on Capitol Hill. He was a leader in the Black Congressional Caucus, and he allowed me to have exposure in a lot of different avenues, to which I'm very, very, very grateful. He was also the subject matter expert on all things Africa, so leaders from all over the African world would come to his office and come to the conferences that he sponsored. And while I worked for him only a brief time, I have the utmost respect for the work that he did as the first Black African-American congressman as part of their delegation in New Jersey. So I would have to say, if I was going to follow in the footsteps of anyone, it would probably be Donald Payne of New Jersey. And also, he worked well with people that he disagreed with politically. And he always said, particularly in one instance, as I was leaving the office, he reminded me to that it's one thing to disagree and it's quite another to be disagreeable. And so
Exactly.
that's how he carried himself. And I would venture to guess that that's how I intend to carry myself.
I see. Very good. What are your thoughts about term limits?
Whew. So
that's a loaded question because
no, it's not. It's not loaded, Pam. It's not loaded. I love this question. I love this question. Quite frankly, the Supreme Court has already spoken on the question of term limits, and they've determined that term limits are unconstitutional. But there is nothing in the rules of life that would prevent one from imposing tenure on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that staying in Congress for a lifetime, quite frankly, is not healthy for our democracy. And so I would tell all of those who are looking for something bold and something new, I'm going to return the power back to the people, because I don't tend to stay in Congress for 30 years. I think the people should have a right to have their representatives chosen more frequently. And so I intend to live up to the obligation that I'm going to make, not to stay in Congress for a very long time. And to the extent that I want to serve, I'll serve in another capacity. But I want our society to move forward. Young people are ready to serve.
Right.
And quite frankly, I mean, I have utmost respect for Congressman David Price and the work that he's done. But there's many generations that were denied an opportunity to lead as a result of him occupying the office for nearly 40 years.
Well, you know what I think? I one thing that concerns me so much, we have some awesome leaders. We really do.
Yes.
They've been in Congress forever, like Maxine Waters and
Yes.
Our Speaker Pelosi and what have you. And they've gotten the chops to do what they do so well because they've been there so long. But one of the things that I heard in a sermon by Bishop Vashti McKenzie, she came to St. Joseph's a month or two ago, and she said that we needed to make space for younger people to lead, and before they were age 40. She made that, and she said that very clearly, and I so agree with her. I had two young men on my show that generation, one's a millennial and one was a Gen Z.
Yes.
And they were just fantastic. And I felt so much better about the world after I talked to them, and they were just so astute and on top of things. And I think that I think one mistake that I see is that I don't know, and it could, I wouldn't know this because I'm not there, but I would like to see where people are grooming others.
Yes.
As they're going, as you learn the ropes, then you show somebody else who has interest, so that it's not such a hard lift when it comes time for them to run. Does that make sense?
That makes complete sense. I mean, it is quite a heavy lift, this endeavor in getting involved in public service. And you really do need a mentor to sort of guide you into next steps and getting a part of this process. And I plan on doing that. And so I see the value in our young people. I mean, I work with young people every day. I encourage them to get involved in public service, both as social workers and attorneys. Because quite frankly, there's a lot of need out there in our society for people who genuinely want to help and improve things. And so if I'm fortunate enough to be elected to Congress, I'm going to reset the model for what serving in Congress looks like, because I'm ready to hand over the mantle to young people, quite frankly. And I don't want this seat to be handed over to someone who has intentions to being in office for 30 or 40 years. So I'm just not in a position where I think that's healthy for our democracy.
Okay. What do you, we've got so many things going on now. I mean, between the pandemic, now this crisis in Ukraine, or I should say a crisis in Europe overall, because we don't really see an end in sight. And deliberately today, I really didn't listen too much to it because it just kind of gets you down a little bit. What do you perceive to be the United States' greatest challenges as a nation over the next decade?
Whew.
And I know it's a lot, so
We have so many challenges.
So many things. We can
so
just
many things.
talk about them all.
I think the bottom line, of course, the challenges over the next decade is that the great American experiment with democracy will be our greatest challenge over the next decade. Fascism and authoritarianism are taking root in our society in a way that I could not have imagined during my lifetime or even within the last 10 years. I couldn't imagine what I see or what I saw come about on January 6th.
Right.
Unbelievable that something like that would occur in America.
Right.
So our experiment with democracy, and it's truly an experiment. It is truly an experiment. And so that's why this election is important. That's why all elections are important. Exactly. We need to get more people out because democracy matters. And
it does.
If we lose it, if we lose it, it'll be too late. It will absolutely positively be too late.
And you know what? I had your colleague on the show a few weeks back, Professor Irv Joyner.
Yes.
And we were talking about the January 6th, and he was telling me, he said, but Pam, you know, you got to go through the legal system. And I was like, we don't have time. I said, we don't have time. We've got to hurry up. The vote is coming up. We've got to do something. And I'm so... It just blow. I remember when that was happening on January 6th, I thought I was seeing things because I hadn't long ago had eye surgery. And I thought, well, maybe I can't possibly be seeing what I think I see because this cannot be happening in America. Climbing the walls, you know, and all of this stuff. And they're so angry. And we live in such a wonderful place. I mean, you know, America, we've got lots of problems. It's true.
Yeah. Yes.
But let me tell you, having freedom of thought and freedom of speech and freedom to do things, I think it's not to be taken for granted at all. I just want to tell you, Loretta Thomas Walker says, agreed, Mr. Valentine, fascism and democracy is in danger. Absolutely. Absolutely, it is.
I mean, but the good news is, Ms. Thomas Walker, is that we can do something about it. And there's something that we can do about it is to encourage our friends, to encourage our parents, to encourage family members to get out to vote, to register to vote. It is important. I mean, in my time as an educator, I take painstaking efforts to connect everything that we discuss in the classroom back to the importance of voting, because those who we send to make decisions on our behalf matters.
Right.
It matters. You want to have someone who has the same value system that you have and support the same policies that you believe in. And so you have control over that. And so we have to take the power back.
Right. And we have to pay attention to those people that are in Congress currently that are applauding Putin and his efforts, talking about, oh, he's so great, he's this, that, and the other, and he's bombing citizens and taking over, trying to take over Ukraine. And who's to say he will stop at Ukraine? That's the thing.
Pam, I tell you, my military career started during the Cold War. And to see, you know, what it means to be a patriot being turned upside down is very, very distressing to me. And I will fight with everything within me to ensure that democracy maintains its place in our society.
Absolutely. So tell us, Stephen, what are you doing right now? I mean, you've got a full-time job, you've got a family and everything else. And what are you doing to try to beat the bushes to get those people? I think you'll be okay in like here in Durham.
Yes.
And what have you, but it's not enough because you've got Alamance, and who else is in your jurisdiction now?
Maxwell County, Granville.
Granville, yeah.
Well, Pam, I'll tell you the good news. Well, let me tell you
Okay.
what I've been doing recently. And so on last week, I was beating the bushes in Chapel Hill.
Okay.
I think I've reached a cohort of people who are not concerned about name recognition.
Okay.
And so the more that I'm getting my name out there, and I had two county conventions, one being local, but also the county convention this week in Alamance County. I had an opportunity to introduce myself to the people of Alamance County. And so I'm going to be reaching out to Alamance County. I'm going to be going up to Granville. Matter of fact, Granville is having their county convention this coming weekend. But more and more, you will see my face out in these communities, because I do realize that it's going to take more than just the votes of folks here in Durham County to prevail in this race. And I have every intention on winning, and I'm going to put my best foot forward in introducing myself and talking to people about what it is that they think are important, what their priorities are. And I'm going to go to work for the people in the 4th Congressional District.
Right, right. So tell me this, the name recognition that we've been saying here in that Stephen and I have been discussing is the fact that American Idol winner Clay Aiken is in this race.
Yes.
So that's really interesting. I mean, I think Clay's a great guy, very talented. I love his music, but I'm not sure that I can't see myself, because like I said, whoever wins this race is my congressperson. So I don't see him in that capacity. Do I see him in politics? Sure, I can, but I just don't see that. To me, from the credentials that I know that he has, I don't see him as being able to lead in that way. And there's a few other candidates in the race that have had local political positions and whatnot, and that's all well and good. And then there are a number of newcomers, such as yourself. But I do think, Stephen, that I like the fact that you have had relationships within the U.S. House of Representatives previously. You have the law background and you have the social work background. I'm curious, because there's not many men get their MSWs. What made you go to school to get that degree?
Oh, Pammy, that's a very good question. I actually was in the process of going to divinity school, actually. Mm-hmm. And I had a conversation with someone about, how you could be more impactful. And I couldn't think of being more impactful than, being in ministry at that point in my life. Mm-hmm. And then I, went and interviewed with some people, and I'd actually had a job as a social worker. At that time I was doing protective service work.
Oh boy, that's tough.
Yes, and so that is the ground floor of social work.
Yes, it is.
The type of work that I was engaged in. Mm-hmm. And I had talked to a supervisor, talked to some other people. And I remember I actually had a conversation when I was in college with one of the recruiters from the University of Pennsylvania. And she said, well, if you ever change your mind, give me a call. And so I gave her a call. I applied, and I was so gracious when I got accepted to the University of Pennsylvania. And I think, less and less men are being involved in social work, but there was a time there was many men, particularly leaders in the field of social work. And my mom, I guess she has sort of set the example in my life for doing good for others. And so it was an easy decision for me to go into the helping profession.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good. Yeah. From Latrice Davis, she says, Black people are the canary in the coal mine when it comes to sounding the alarm about what lies ahead.
Well, yeah. I'm not exactly sure what she means by that. Maybe she could expound upon it.
Yeah. Latrice, do you want to come up and expound upon what you're talking about? What you're saying? I'll find out in a minute.
Okay.
There's another question here. And Latrice, if you want to come up on the stage to expound upon your comment, let us know. From Fredia M. Butler, she wants to know, what do you believe is a reasonable amount of time to hold an office?
I think 10 years is an optimal time to serve. I don't plan to serve for 10 years, but I think 10 years is a good number in the House of Representatives. If after 10 years you are not in a position to run for a United States Senate, or quite frankly, to go back to the civilian sector, I mean, after 10 years, it's time to go home. So between 6 and 10 years.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's reasonable too, because even in the presidency, okay, it's like 4 years, right? And you cannot do, well, Trump did a lot to undo a lot, to create so much chaos and stuff in 4 years, but I can't imagine what our lives would be like had he been given another 4. That's what, if that frightens me to no end. But you really need a good decade in order to really enact some change, I think.
Yes, I mean the model that I work from is, having served in the United States Army. You stay at the rank of captain for almost 10 years, or you're able to move to higher positions of authority. And so that's been my model, and excuse me. And also the concept of up or out exists in the military. If you're performing, you move up or you move out. And so, and quite frankly, and a lot of senior leaders that I've dealt with in the past in government and in the military have said that you lose your effectiveness as a leader with respect to innovation and change at about the 10-year mark. It's time for something else. Yes, it's time for you to do something else. And so I think, it's particularly if we're using the military as an example, they prepare their leaders that way. They prepare their leaders that way. And I think that model should apply in government service as well.
Well, look, you taught me something here today. That's good. There's someone back behind the channel. I don't know. They don't have their camera on. AB. Do you recognize those initials, Stephen? AB?
No, not AB.
AB, if you would put your camera on, I'll bring you up. But I don't know. I'm not sure, and I'd love to know what your comment is. But
yes, please, AB, come up. I'm curious too.
I would bring them up, but StreamYard has this policy. They say always ask to put their photo in the frame. AB, can you turn your camera on, please? You're unmuted. Okay, looks like they're turning their camera on.
Okay, great. It seems like she has a question regarding our artificial intelligence, but I would like to know more about.
Oh, maybe that's okay. Hold on.
Yeah, she said she'd love to ask a question regarding artificial intelligence.
Okay, is this Ann Bush?
Yes, this is.
Hey,
how are you, Pam?
I'm doing well. I know her.
As someone who studies artificial intelligence, sometimes I am cautious when it comes to social media and putting names and all of that stuff. But thank you so much, Pam, for allowing me to come to the stage. But I also want to congratulate Mr. Valentine. I am someone who ran for office before, so
thank you so much.
Oh goodness, I do understand the entire process of starting, being in the middle of it, and finishing, and all of that. So I applaud you for your courage to run. My question really is about technology and artificial intelligence. As we all know, it's considered the 4th industrial revolution. And when I started Black Women in AI, I tell everybody, you can't have a revolution without Black women. And so when we talk about artificial intelligence, and in particular facial recognition, I would like to know your views on facial recognition, and where do you see us going with that technology in the next 2 to 4 years?
Well, let me start by addressing your question by saying I have that feature removed from my social media platforms. And this is actually my first trek into actually having a social media presence because of my my background with the military and also with the federal government. I just thought it was not wise because of what I viewed from the inside looking out. But with respect to your more specific question, that technology is going to move extremely fast, and it's going to be particularly dangerous as we move to mid-century. I mean, the technology will move so fast, we're going to be opening doors with our eyes. We're going to primarily start in cars with our eyes. Matter of fact, our eyes are going to be the number one mechanism in which we're going to be able to identify ourselves. And so it's going to get very scary, and people's ability to be able to map that intelligence and take on your persona in ways that they were not capable of in the past.
And I agree. And with that being said, I know the government is starting different initiatives in terms of trying to put everything back and stop things and slow things down. But will you be a part of those initiatives if elected, or even if you're not elected, just to make sure that we're aware of the biases in artificial intelligence? And I know recently there was a push to have artificial intelligence in regards to when you file your taxes, and utilizing facial recognition in that. And so this is something that is happening present day. And as you stated, it's moving very quickly before we can really see what communities, and of course it's going to be our community, that this technology does harm to.
Yes.
So I would like to know if you're going to be a part of the conversation from this point on to say, okay, let's figure out what we can do to make it so that these biases, we can mitigate and eliminate the biases that are coming up with regards to facial recognition.
So I guess I can answer that in two ways. Number one, I plan on being part of the conversation moving forward. And I also have an interest in serving on the Intelligence Committee if I'm so fortunate as to be elected to Congress. And so in that capacity, I think I could be at the forefront on ensuring that if the technology moves as fast as that I think that it probably will, that there'll be some safeguards, particularly as it relates to African Americans and other people of color.
Thank you so much, and we certainly look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you so much.
She is the founder, Stephen, and the rest of our people in the chat room. She is the founder of Black Women in Artificial Intelligence, and Ann Bush, and she is out of Texas. So doing great things, doing great things. Here's another comment. Okay, from Latrice. Let's use your take on technology as an example. Your life experience has shown you that for all the promise, it has many perils. Having served in the military, you can be a voice for the dangers of technology, especially in the Black community. Okay. Latrice, are you going to come up on stage? Because I know I got a feeling you have what you want to say. And Ann, are you done, or do you want to continue the discussion to stay on board?
Thank you so much. I'm going to listen. You guys are doing a great job, great conversation. I just want to make sure that every candidate that I have an opportunity to communicate with, that they are aware of artificial intelligence. And, you know, there are a lot of great things. Mm-hmm. Every day it affects us in everything that we do, whether we're watching Netflix or YouTube or anything else, or whether we're, as the young man stated, whether we're turning on our cars or attempting to, or whatever the technology may be, it's affecting us. And I want them to be aware, every candidate to be aware of how it's going to affect our community in particular. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right.
So is Miss Davis gonna come up on the?
She probably will shortly.
Okay.
I had another question for you. Another comment. It says, "What issue or issues made you decide to run?"
So that's a very great question. So over the last couple of years, I've actually been involved in the Democratic Party here locally.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to run against Congressman Price had he not retired, because I think the time for change is now. And as I looked around the landscape, a lot of people that I felt should have been excited about this race seem not to be. And I think some of the lack of excitement might have been about, the gerrymandering issue, how the lines were going to be drawn. And I'm concerned about serving people. And so whatever the lines were going to be, I was all in. I was all in.
Okay.
Yes, I was all in. Yes, I didn't like the names that were being put forth. And I felt like I had the types of experiences that have prepared me for this opportunity and this platform. And so I said, I'm all in to prioritize the needs of people.
Let me ask you this. With that said, have you had a chance to talk to Congressman Price?
I have not, no.
Okay.
But as an aside, when I went to work for Congressman Payne, I actually was on detail from the State Department at that time. And I actually did go to Congressman Price, Congressman Price's office in an attempt to set up an interview, but I never got past his front office people.
Oh, okay.
So I ended up being with Congressman Payne, and it worked out. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But I would love the opportunity to talk to Congressman Price. He served this community well.
Yes.
And anything that he could offer, I would be willing to listen.
Yes. I know he's been a frequent visitor of the church at St. Joseph's, where I met you.
Yes.
That's how we met. Coming in the door. And his right-hand person, Tracy Lovett.
Yes, I know.
Attends the church. So yes. That relationship we've had for some time, but it's
embarrassingly so, Pam. I actually owe Miss Lovett a phone call. Yes.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Tracy's always open, and she would be definitely someone for you to know, no doubt.
Well, we've worked together in the past. When I was teaching social work students, she was a frequent visitor to our program. So
okay.
Yes.
Very good. Do you miss so what do you do on a day-to-day at your Veterans Law Clinic? What is that, a new clinic there at Central?
So actually I was hired to bring life back to the program. It had been dormant for a number of years. I actually was part of the Veterans Law Clinic as a student. And so my background with the JAG Corps and my knowledge of veterans law pre-positioned me to be of service to the law school in that capacity. But day to day, I work with veterans on ensuring that they receive the compensation benefits that they're entitled to from the Department of Veterans Affairs. And so I advocate for veterans at the regional office, before the Board of Veterans Appeals in Washington, D.C., and I'm also barred before the Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims and the Federal Circuit. And so I advocate for veterans in any one of those venues.
Okay. Why do you, now that I know, of course, I know your passion for veterans and what have you, because you are one yourself. Yes. Why is it that of all branches of government, so to speak, why does that one why do our veterans seem to be missing out on things? It just doesn't make sense. I don't know if it's that we don't spend enough in mental health. I don't know. What do you think it is? It seems like they're on the loop. They're not winning, as the kids would say. It's not like there's enough attention on them.
Well, military service in and of itself, from the very beginnings of the origins of our country, had to deal more with the benefits as it relates to all of us, and not necessarily the benefit those who choose the military as a career or merely serve for their term and get out. And so it's really worked exactly how it was intended from the very beginning. And to tell you another one of my passions, Title 38 of the United States Code and Title 38 of the Code of Federal Regulations date back to World War I. And so the same legislative guidance and the same regulatory guidance is in place today that governed nearly 100 years ago. And so there's a lot of reform that needs to occur in order for veterans to get the outcomes that the system says that they're entitled to.
Right, right. Yeah, that's a heavy lift. But it seems like it seems like to me that some people would have put that into place already, or at least have been trying to get that going. But
so, I mean, you would think so. I understand that it would probably be a very complex thing to do, but I mean, just like I intend to do something about the tax code. I mean, the tax code and the code that deals with veterans matters, 38, the United States Code. I mean, those are large, complex codes, and they really don't have to be that complicated. So we can do some major reform in those areas to sort of bring those areas of the law into the 21st century.
Let's see. Ms. Butler says this election is so important, and you didn't give me an answer on an issue that made you throw your hat into the race. I thought you did, but
yes. So, Ms. Butler, I said what threw my hat into the race was my concern about service. And so no one seemed to be concerned about serving the people of this district. They seemed to be more concerned about what the district lines would be after the legislature here in North Carolina or the courts decided on the issue. And so I put people ahead of politics and decided to get in this race because I think I can put myself in a position to do good for a majority of North Carolinians in a way that would be different than other people in this race.
Well, one thing for sure, Stephen, that we've got an issue with now, of course, is inflation.
Yeah.
And in a typical fashion, inflation will be used as a bully pulpit to they'll blame Joe Biden. He caused this, whatever. And instead of us knowing what we have gone through, knowing that we've gone through COVID, we have supply chain issues, we have, there are natural corrections, that often have to take place in any economic cycle.
Yes.
So how would you try, and then with this war in Ukraine and our dependence on oil, and it's so much, how would you try to answer those questions, those concerns about everyday bread and butter issues that Americans are facing right now?
Well, the rising cost of daily living is not anything new. I think that the impact that COVID has had on our society has exacerbated every segment of our society, to include our economic system, as you can imagine. And you also brought up the issue dealing with our dependence on oil. I mean, the fact of the matter is that oil and natural gas are a thing of the past, and so there's a sensible way for us to move to more renewable energies. But quite frankly, we could have been there 50 years ago had we wanted to. I mean, for example, it was 35, 40 years ago, the White House had solar panels on it. And people
That's right. It was Jimmy Carter that did that.
Jimmy Carter put solar panels on the White House, and Ronald Reagan came into office and took them off. And electric cars, while we think of them as a modern innovation, electric cars have been around since the 1950s. This technology is old. It's just our lack of willingness because of the economic impacts that oil and gas have on our society. But these are resources, that have a shelf life, and so we have to think critically for generations that are ahead of us about using renewable energies that are more sustainable than our current course.
Right. Absolutely. 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 So tell me what you think is the most difficult aspect of your campaign right now, and I'll have a follow-up to that.
Ooh, time.
Yeah.
So as you can imagine, this type of endeavor requires you to raise a lot of money.
Mm.
And because I work every day, I'm not able to work the phone in the way that maybe some of the other people in this race are able to do.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I get home from work, I have to make a decision about being in the community or being on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, was Miss Bush, is that her name?
Uh-huh.
I would have talked to Miss Bush on the front end about this fundraising business and how that works. But I mean, the other side of it is I've had an opportunity to reach out and talk to people that I haven't talked to in such a long time. And that's been really great. And I've got to meet a lot of people that I didn't know. Even as a local precinct leader, I mean, I've met people in my local area that I didn't know through this process. And so that's been very good. But time, definitely time, has been the biggest factor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you know what? I have not seen any forums where we could meet the candidates. Since there's so many of you, it seems like we would have one or two.
So actually, there was a candidate forum on last Wednesday.
Oh, well, I missed it. I didn't hear about
it. Durham, and it was like a fire hose, but all the candidates were there for all the races: United States Senate, House of Representatives, local House and Senate, the judicial races, and so it was a good outing at Mortico Music Hall.
Yes,
downtown
yes.
Durham, and it was sponsored by the People's Alliance.
Okay. Okay. Was it a situation where each of you could talk, or was it just a meet and greet type of thing?
Oh, it was a mixture of sorts, and so I got an opportunity to meet a lot of people in the community, and we also were able to go on stage for 90 seconds and introduce ourselves. And so I took the opportunity to introduce myself, and I think it went well.
Okay. Okay, very good, very good. Tell us about how we can reach you, how people hearing the show on the playback can find out more about you, your website, and all of that type of information.
Oh, Pam, you are the best. If you can go to www.
Put this in the chat. What's
yes, please do.
address?
Please do. If you can go to www.Stephen STEPHENJ Valentine, just like the holiday.com. I invite you to volunteer and join this movement and prioritizing people. Make a donation, and let's win this thing. May 17th is an important day. Get out to vote.
Okay.
And all my other tags, Pam, are on my website. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Facebook. You can follow me on Instagram. All my handles. Is that right, AB? Is that how you say that?
That is all of your social media handles.
Yes. So that's how you can reach out to me.
Handles are on this website.
Yes.
4th Congressional District. Okay.
Did we ever get
Patrice, Latrice, just use the same. Do you need me to put the link back in here? Let me see. She said she wasn't planning on it, and then she said she would do it, and then
I'm hoping that she'll come back on. I'd love to talk.
I'm gonna put her back on. Her back on. I'll put the link back in here, Latrice, or whomever else wants to come up and speak with Stephen. You're more than welcome to. And if you are listening to us on YouTube, please like the video, and please subscribe. It helps the algorithm. Okay, I don't see you backstage, Latrice. I don't see you. Okay. AB wants to know what's your Twitter handle. It's at what? Is that Stephen J. Valentine or Stephen or what?
Yes. Mm-hmm. But the best way to get to it is going straight to my my website. At
okay.
Let me give you the website.
Okay, I put it in there. The website. Okay. Oh yeah.
Yes, and so if you scroll to the bottom of my website, all my handles are there.
Latrice, I promise you, I don't see you backstage. I don't see you I don't see you. Okay. It says you may have to add me at any time. I don't see you to add you. That's the problem. That is so strange. I don't Stephen, you don't see anybody, do you? I don't see you. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Try it, Latrice, back out and try the link again. Try the link again. Yeah, that's strange. That's strange. Well, you know, it's not like I've done this 1,000,001 times yet. I think I'm trying to get to see it. Okay, she says don't worry about it. I don't know what happened. Something, you know what? It's technology. There's a glitch. Because I promise you, Latrice, if I saw you on here to put you in, I would do it. I don't know what I don't know. I honestly don't know what happened, but
is Latrice a Durham resident?
No, she's not. She is not a Durham resident, but she's a political firebrand. I had her on and two other ladies last week, and we were discussing politics in general. Yes. Latrice is in New York.
Okay.
And in Queens in particular, and she was appointed to a position by her Queens borough president.
Oh,
and likewise because I'm appealing not just to people that live in my jurisdiction, yes, but all over. Whomever listens to you and hear the questions that you've answered and what, you know, the concerns you have and whatnot, we need to make those applicable to wherever we are. Just absolutely. Like AB said, well, I'm going to ask this question of any candidate that I find because I'm very concerned about how candidates is artificial intelligence on your radar? And that's just her wheelhouse, and she's doing that. So I appreciate it. Latrice says, okay, no, you reside. Oh, she's correcting me. She says she's enjoying the conversation just the same. She resides in New York City, and she is on Queens Community Board 6.
Well, Ms. Davis, I know that you are fired up and ready to go. Continue to do good work on that board that you're serving on. We need more people like you.
Right. Let me be. Now, you know what tomorrow is. Judge Ketanji Brown.
Yes.
Starts her confirmations.
Yes.
What do you think? What do you predict? What do you think is going to happen?
So, I mean, I predict on the opposite side of the aisle, you know, business as usual with regards to not dealing with her qualifications, but throwing up the smoke screens and grenades to try to smear her in an attempt to derail her nomination. But they're going to fail. They're absolutely positively going to fail. She's the right person, the right woman for the job, and I think that she'll do a great job. She's been through this process a number of times.
Mhm.
And every time that she's going up, she's been put up for a nomination. She sailed through the nomination process, and I'm sure that that will be the case. You know, not you know, the Republicans are going to be Republicans. The Republicans are going to be Republicans, and so she's gonna be the next Supreme Court justice. And I'm so grateful that President Biden decided long ago that he was going to put a woman in the court. And quite frankly, it's well overdue. It's well overdue. Yes, it's well.
She's got better credentials. I mean, she beats the smoke out of Amy Coney Barrett with her credentials. Her resume is very thin to all of them, really.
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
Yes, she has all of the markers for a Supreme Court justice.
Mm-hmm.
Our nation is fortunate to have someone of her quality to serve in that capacity.
Yes, very good. AB, who she's using her Black Women in an Artificial Intelligence handle. She says, following on Twitter, let's continue the conversation about technology and artificial intelligence. So she's following you, so you'll have to follow her back.
I look forward to it.
Okay, great. It's straight up at 9 o'clock. And I have really enjoyed our conversation. I really have. I really enjoyed getting to know you by looking at your background and all of that for the show. And you certainly have the qualifications, and I'm rooting for you. I guess I shouldn't say that I should be unbiased, but I'm not, because you're going to be my congressperson, and I don't want no funny stuff. I want somebody who is qualified and able to lead, and like I said, you got a big plus for me with the social work right off the bat. Right off the bat.
Well, thank you so much, Pam. It's been a pleasure of my evening, mixing it up on remixing politics and culture. It's been fun. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes, absolutely. And you can come back again, because we got till May 17th, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Matter of fact, I would enjoy coming back again.
Okay, great.
Yes.
And hopefully we'll get some more people asking questions or what have you. But audience, you have been wonderful. If again, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You'll know when we go live again. And I anticipate doing some little short videos too, when I can catch my breath. But at any rate, thank you so much for coming, and I'll see you next Sunday.
Thank you.
Good night.